Hello, welcome to Undisputed Boxing. We're here to talk predictions for next weekend, Saturday. Can't believe how quickly this fight has come around, actually. Dereck Chisora takes on Joseph Parker. Pay-per-view, Sky Sports. I think it's going to be one of their last pay-per-view shows now, looks like. Pretty good card as well, pretty solid card. Yeah, I'm here to discuss it with Rick. If you haven't watched any of these videos before, we usually get together on a weekend just to talk boxing, boxing news, predictions, reviews. It's kind of our lockdown project. So if you like what you've heard, please like and subscribe. Feel free to drop any comments in the comment section as well. Rick, I've been really looking forward to this fight. What's your assessment on how you think this is going to go?
The main event.
Yeah, well, not the main event.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it's one of these fights I'm looking forward to because it's intriguing. There's not a clear favourite, and I suppose I'm not overly invested in either, so I can sit back and relax and watch it a bit. The last time I felt I could do it was Joyce Dubois, where it was intriguing, like looking forward to it, but didn't have, when you're watching your Furies and your AJs and you're on the edge of your seat. You know what I mean? Because they're so important to British boxing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'd be like it with Saunders Canelo, being on the edge of my seat, cheering on Saunders and that. But with this, it's kind of, I will be cheering on Del Boy because he is good for British boxing. But I don't know, I just don't have so much of the if he's lost that many times, it wouldn't matter if he lost again. Really, he'll still probably keep fighting anyway. But my prediction on this will be Dereck Chisora by points. It's a very hard one to predict, I think, because it's quite a 50-50. Yeah. I think why I'm leaning on this is I think Chisora's got a pretty good chin, and I don't think I think they've both got pretty good chins. Parker's probably got a better chin, and it'll need to be. I think Chisora hits harder than Parker. So in terms of power versus chin, I think they're probably very even, if you know what I mean, as a ratio kind of thing. So, so therefore, I struggle to see there being a knockout. I'm not saying there won't be; it's heavyweight boxing, but I struggle to see there being a knockout, and therefore I lean to Chisora because I just think he'll be the busier fighter. There won't be a crowd, which I think does make it tougher. But I just think he'll have the higher energy. And I think when Parker came on a bit against White, but I think White was just knackered. And I don't think that'll happen with Chisora. He just seems to keep going. And I think he'll win he'll win on points, mainly through pressure. Yeah. And it'll be one of those where it'll probably be, quite close on the scorecards. And the Parker team will kind of point to success that they had and say that, they felt they won and all that. But that's my prediction, and that's my kind of theory behind it. How's yours?
You definitely raised some good points, but I'm going to go with Joseph Parker on points. I'm not doing this just to be contrarian, but I think that him and Dillian White, that fight was an interesting fight, and it really could have gone either way. And I think Joseph Parker with a better game plan, maybe somebody else in his corner other than Kevin Barry, I really do think that he could have made that a win. I just think his amateur pedigree, is he almost 10 years younger than Dereck Chisora? He's the younger, fresher fighter. He's got a good chin. Dereck Chisora will definitely come forward, but I do think that will actually suit Joseph Parker. I think Joseph Parker, he's one of those that kind of raises his game for the better opposition, maybe excluding AJ. The AJ fight wasn't that great, not a great performance from him. But I do think the referee actually had a factor in that as well. I think with a different referee, maybe Joseph Parker, if he'd have been enabled to rough AJ up a little bit, I think he could have made it a little bit more interesting. And I think a lot of people probably will sway towards Chisora for some of those reasons, but also because of his last performance against Junior Farr, which wasn't great, kind of stank the place out really. But I do think he didn't look that good against the Romanian heavyweight. Ruslan Kajanu, was it?
Yeah,
you know,
they used to be sparring partners together. So whether that caused it, but I think he's had one too many performances like that, where he was just below par. You know, the AJ fight, I think he was below par. That fight was below par. The Junior Farr fight was below par. You're right. He sometimes just about does enough, but even when he wins, he never wins kind of clearly. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you know, the Ruiz fight, that was very tight when he won.
Yeah.
He never seems to, other when he's fighting the real low level, you know what I mean? Then that's quite clear. But when he steps up, he never seems to either loses closely or wins closely. So again, you know, definitely he could definitely win on a close fight on the points as well. Yeah. I just think it's a different fight to the White fight with Chisora. He'll just keep coming. And
but I think that will suit Joseph Parker, and I think with a game plan, hopefully Andy Lee. I think the Andy Lee link up is going to be interesting. Probably not the ideal fight for your first, you know, for your first fight with your new trainer, but I think he'll do.
I think when you put it on him, he goes into his shell a bit. So I don't know if it will suit him. It depends what the pressure is. If it's sensible pressure, then I don't think it will go in his favour. But if he leaves himself open, Chisora, which he can do with wild swings, but if it's sensible pressure, I think that goes for Chisora, because I just think when you start manhandling Parker like White did in the early part of the fight, do you know what I mean? I think he put pressure on him, and but he just couldn't sustain it, and then knackered himself out. And Parker's got good. He's very consistent. You know what I mean? He doesn't have bad rounds and good rounds that often. He's just very consistent. So it's very intriguing. I mean, I don't think either of us think that the other one's predictions out of this world. It's just
no. It could go either way for sure. I see a case for Chisora as well.
If there was a crowd, I'd be even more confident on my prediction, because I think that would spur Chisora on more, give him more energy, and also just the judging. You know, always get impacted a bit. But yeah, looking forward to it, you know. I hope there is a knockout. Yeah, I hope it's Chisora. Chisora knocks him out. But it's funny, actually. I heard what's Parker's promoter called?
David Higgins, is it?
Yeah, so I was quite like listening to him. He's a bit out there, but he said something like, whoever loses this, it's kind of the career's done. I thought that's quite a big thing to say. Especially for, you know, with his guy as well. I mean, I don't think whoever then either's career is done, because Parker's is quite young, and Chisora just keep going.
Yeah, I think Chisora loses, he probably goes straight back into another big fight. You know, he could fight Dubois or Joyce. You know, he's still kind of always going to be there as that kind of a high level kind of gatekeeper. Whereas Joseph Parker, I think it would be more devastating to his career. I mean, if you think about it, he lost to AJ and then he lost to Dillian White, and he's gone through kind of a bit of a big rebuilding phase. Like, he hasn't been in a big fight really for a couple of years now, has he? He's had to really kind of rebuild. Like, he's boxed Flores, Lapai, and Shawndell Winters and Junior Farr all in the space of about 3 years. So that's a bit of a rebuilding job, and I think I don't think he'd have to do anything like that again, but it's more devastating, I think, to his career, whereas Chisora's lost 10 fights already.
Oh yeah. It's more devastating for him, definitely. But I still think they'll just both fight on. But the thing is, you say that with Parker. You know, since Parker lost against White, he's rebuilt himself. But I don't see him coming back as a better fighter. Now, I suppose you could argue, well, he'll prove it in this fight. But I don't go into it going, he's got a better chance now than he did 4 fights ago. In fact, you know, if you put him and White in the ring again, I'd go White even more. I think White's come on, and Parker's not seemed to have changed. And again, it's just the eye test against who he's been in with. But
yeah,
I think he's almost, and it might change because he's not been as active, but he just looks like he's putting that little bit more weight, and it's just slowed him down.
Yeah, he definitely
is not quite
good. Yeah,
and that was his thing. He was that little bit. He wasn't a big hitter, but it was sharper. You know, and we'll see.
Yeah, he definitely isn't good. If he's above like 235, 240, he looks a bit sluggish. I think he needs to try and keep his weight down and stay sharp. But yeah, all right, we'll see. So I'm going Parker points. You're going Chisora points. Yeah, all right. Makes it a bit more interesting. So predictions on the undercard. I mean, the undercard, I would have to say, there isn't really any pick 'em fights on the undercard. I think the rest of the fight should be pretty routine. Even Katie Taylor against Natasha Jonas. I mean, most are going to predict a Katie Taylor win for that on point.
I am looking.
Yeah, that's.
I'm looking for, because I think Jonas has come on, and Taylor. I mean, we don't know much about women's boxing. We don't know when girls start to kind of tail off. And has she passed a peak? I don't know, because she's not young anymore.
No.
But she has been in a few wars. So that's interesting. But I just think it's great because they'll both go for it, and it's always entertaining. So that's a good one. Eubank, he'll win and he'll look good doing it, no doubt.
Do you think knockout or points?
Yeah, it'll be a knockout, but it'll be kind of one of these, he'll overwhelm him with punches in the middle rounds or something. I thought.
Yeah, no, I probably agree with that.
Is Tennessee on that card as well?
James Tennyson is fighting somebody, yeah, but I've not heard of his opponent. The other one that's quite interesting is Dimitri Bivol versus Craig Richards.
Yeah, sorry, that's. I mean, I'm going to go with what I thought originally was a Bivol. I mean, I think there's a danger. Bivol didn't look great in his last outing and that, and he might not take him seriously. But I just think he's a class above, and it will tell. I know Hearn's like throwing in he's looking great. He's looking great. I can see an upset there, which is what he tends to do when he's trying to get people getting interested, and it never normally turns out like that. So yeah, I'd be surprised. Is Fitzgerald's fighting, or
got Fitzgerald's on the card? Yeah, let me have a quick look. Whilst is Campbell Hatton on there as well, or is he in a few weeks?
Yeah, he is. I mean, I'm not that with Campbell Hatton. I think he's so raw. He's rawer than most when they turn up. I'll be more interested in watching him like when he's hit 10 fights and seeing where he is. I was a bit like that with Ben.
Conor Benn, yeah. Scott Fitzgerald is on the card. He's actually first up, but he hasn't got an opponent yet. So it will be a tick over fight, maybe even an 8-rounder, because I think Scott Fitzgerald has he's had a drinking problem, or he's been kind of in some sort of rehab.
Yeah.
And obviously very inactive, which is such a shame. I really like Scott Fitzgerald. I think he is the better one of the light middleweights that we've got in this country, because he's pretty much beaten everybody. He beat Ted Cheeseman. He beat Anthony Fowler, and he's only had like 14 fights.
But Liam Smith, is he on any card coming up?
Liam Smith is actually fighting on an Al Siesta card, I think, in Russia in a couple of weeks. I think it's in a week or two. It's coming up soon. I don't know if it's either on Al Siesta or another random promoter. I don't know what's actually happened there between him and Hearn, whether there's been a bust up or whether he's parted company or whether he's just broken off just for this specific fight because Hearn couldn't get him onto his roster. I'm not too sure. But he's definitely fighting, and I think it's in a week or two, Liam Smith. Yeah.
Makes you wonder why some of these aren't, this happens, whether it's like Hearn just says, I've got this fight for you, but it's, 70K, and they're like, well, I only fight for 250 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
All right. So that's the card. Yeah. Thanks again to everybody for listening. Yeah. And we'll tune in for next week to review our predictions.